We are continuing our relationship series, and it's glad you've been able to join us online or down in the Mission Cafe or here in the room as we look through complicated relationships. We need them. Relationships are really important to us, and obviously the most important relationship is our relationship with God. We got to start with Him, and that puts all perspective in life and direction we're going to go, but we need other people. Relationships are there. That's one of the reasons why solitary confinement is such a horrible sentence to put on someone, because to be separated from other people. That's why school buses are so loud in interaction. Sometimes you go into a restaurant, it's so loud because people are talking and they're wanting that relationship with other people. That's why Tom Hanks talked to a volleyball for 4 years when he was stuck on that island. Remember what's his name? Wilson, yes. Because he needs relationships, and we need those. Sometimes our relationships are healthy, sometimes they're poor, but we need that interaction. That's why advertisements always show people laughing together and having a good time, no matter what their age, because we think, I want that. I want to laugh with others. I want to enjoy other people. So we think, if I buy this product, then people will like me and I'll have that relationship. Of course, that is not true. That's not where relationships come from. But our relationships are difficult. And perhaps today you're in one of those relationships where there's a lot of pain and you're trying to wrestle through and figure it out. And we want to walk through these as we go through this series, how to build and maintain a healthy relationship that will be a blessing on you and the people around you. So we're working with a model that was come up by Dr. John Van Epp and his daughter, Dr. Morgan Cutlip, called the Relationship Attachment Model. And we've got it laid out over here. And this is one of those things, as you look at this model, what does it mean? The very first week we talked about know. And it's important that we get to know someone. When you walk in, you have no idea who they are. You have some first impressions, but you have no idea if they're correct or not. And so it takes time to get to know. When you first meet someone, we always put on our best smile. We're going to sell somebody something. Boy, you say everything right. You want to go on a date. You want to impress people. But get past the surface level and find out, who are you really? One of the things we encourage you is, in a new relationship, it's going to take at least 90 days to figure out, past the surface, who are they, what is their heart like, and of course, you know, you've known someone for a long time. It takes a lifetime to really get to know someone well. But you got to start with know. You can't skip on this and go the others, or we're going to have a train wreck in your life. In the next week, we talked about trust. Is this person trustworthy? Now, you may get to know this person real well, and you find out, no, they are not trustworthy. They're not a person of their word. They're not a person who's confident in themselves, and they're going to go back and forth on everything that there is. And so to get to know someone does not guarantee you're going to be able to trust them. But healthy relationship, once you know them, then you're going to find out, are they trustworthy or not? And hopefully this person that you're building this relationship with is a trustworthy person. Last week, we talked about rely. Understanding there's two parts of rely. One is that I learned I can rely upon you, but the other part is that I can be a reliable person. In order to open myself up, I know you, I trust you, but it's a conscious decision to say, let's peel back the layers and let's grow together. I'm going to share my burdens with you, you share your burdens with me, and together we're going to figure out this thing called life together. A healthy relationship has to have some relying in it. If you just stay here, there's a wall stays up around others, and you can't get to know someone well or build a healthy relationship with a wall. So this. And now today we come to commit. Commit is interesting because it changes your whole relationship. You know someone, you trust them, you rely upon them, but are you going to commit to them or not? It's a conscious decision. It's a step. These can kind of evolve from one to the next, but this is a sit down and deciding, is this a friend that I'm going to say, I'm going to be your friend for the rest of your life? No matter what, we're sticking together in this. And of course, it's that commitment that says, to love and to cherish until death do us part. We are committed no matter what. We're going to stick with it. Now, some skip this and they go straight to touch. They want touch in their life. They want that affection. They move in together, living together, and they will not commit to each other. And I can say this is downright selfish. When you're saying, I want everything I can get out of a relationship without a commitment to it. And that's not how it works. The way God built it, We work up on a place, and then we make the commitment, and then we move to this. And next week, we'll be talking about touch. It'll wrap up our series. And so parents, just want you to know, next week, we'll be talking about this subject. We won't get real graphic, but we will be talking about this. And so if you're uncomfortable with your children, we have a great children's ministry going on. Just want you to know, there's a little warning there, okay? But today, commit. Are you willing to commit? Now, it's interesting because in life, these will fluctuate up and down. Jean, we met in college. We spent a lot of time together in college. We got married in college. I knew her well. We got married, and boy, we changed a little bit. We got married. But you get to know each other again, and then she became a mom. I didn't know who she was. I mean, she started doing all this mom stuff, and everything just changed. It's like, whoa, we had to refigure out who we were, and then you learn that again. But this no goes up and down. You know those times in a relationship and you go, I don't even know who you are anymore. Go through phases of life. Trust. I can do something really stupid, really boneheaded, and she'll go, whoa, I'm not going to trust you with that anymore. And I have to re-earn my trust. You get the idea? So these can go up and down, right? They do. Rely. Boy, I can depend upon you. No, I can't depend upon you. Come on, you got to learn how to do this. So these things can go up and down, but when it comes to commit, it's an all or nothing. If you commit to be a friend for life, you stay that friend. If you commit till death do us part in a relationship, it is full-fledged. You can't have a half sort of, well, maybe I'm committed to you. It doesn't work that way. It's one or the other. Now, sometimes in life we go through and they do change. You go, well, is it in or is it out? It's going to be there. There's always those times in a relationship, in a marriage, or in friendship when you go, you know, I'm committed to you. I love you, but I really don't like you right now. You been there? We just get so angry, so upset, and it could be a number of things. Maybe he's just done the stupidest thing. You go, how could you forget our anniversary? How could you forget this promise you made? Maybe it's the time of the month when things are a little hairy, a little crazy in your mouth, but you're just like, there's anger, there's frustration here. So in those times, we just go, I don't know about this, but that's natural. Supernatural is when you say, but I'm committed to you, and we're going to figure this out. Those times when you retreat to your end of the house and you're going different directions and saying, I'm so frustrated, but then you say, nope, we're committed. We are going to make this work. So commitment. What does it mean to make a commitment that's solid and strong and one that you're going to build upon? 1 Corinthians chapter 10 says it this way. It says, I have the right to do anything. That sounds like American. It's my right. I can do anything I want. It's what I've earned. You say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others. And up to the point of commitment, you can say, I can do whatever I want. I know you, I trust you, I rely upon you, but I'm in and out of this relationship. It doesn't matter what it is, but when you get to commitment, it changes. Now, it's not just my own good, my own right to do what I want, but now you're saying, I'm committed to this, and I'm committed to your good, and I'm committed to make this relationship work. It's a change in a relationship. You get the picture? So now saying we are going to figure this out for the rest of our life. Wedding days are special because you come together and you celebrate this. But you know, the wedding day is not a celebration of love. It's a celebration of commitment. Weddings are not about the love. Love is there, of course. There's lots of people that love each other. But when you come on that day, it's because this couple is going to commit their lives together. Of course, it's based upon love. But we're there to watch this wedding because we're there to watch them make this lifetime commitment. They've already declared their love. We celebrate love, but the commitment is there. Appreciate something I've heard Ben say over and over through the years. He said a relationship changes when you get married. Because up to now, you're committed because you love each other. I love you, so let's go on a date. Let's be steady. Let's go out. Let's be engaged. And it's all based upon the emotion, the feeling, the decision, I love you. But once you get married, now you love because you're committed. The basis of your relationship is not just the emotions of love, but now it's based upon a commitment that says, I am committed to you, and because I'm committed to you, I will learn to love you through all the phases of life. And we're going to stay with it. Obviously, some of you know that if you think about in life, because you made the commitment to Jesus first and you made a commitment to someone else, you've had to live a lifestyle that's solid and strong. It's no longer off on your own doing whatever you want to, but now you're solid. You're going to build upon it. You're going to stay where you're going to be. You are dependent upon. And without that marriage commitment, some of you, you know where you'd be. You'd be wasting away in Margaritaville right now, you know. If she wasn't holding you straight or he wasn't holding you accountable, and you'd be at Key West talking to a parrot right now if you weren't married. Because it's saying, no, you stick to what you've said. You keep the promise is going to be there. But you're dependable. Friends, are you the kind of friend that's dependable? They know what you're going to be. They know what you're going to say. They know you are there no matter what. You're there through all the difficult times of life. You're not just there for the fun, but you're the one that's committed and going to stand upon it. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 17 says, a friend loves at all times. If you're taking notes, you can circle that word all times. We're one that's going to be there no matter what. We're going to stick through the good times, the bad times are going to be there. Are you the kind of person that someone can look at and say, I know who they are? Jesus said this in Matthew chapter 5, verse 37. It says, all you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. It means you shouldn't have to get up and go, yes, I really mean it this time. Because you've been lying the rest of the times. Sometimes your yes is there and it goes away, but you should be the kind of person, a man or a woman, who just says, yes, you have my word on it, and we know it's true because you're solid, you're dependable. It means for dads and moms, are you the kind of parent that's dependable? And maybe you've had one of those parents that wasn't dependable and it's caused such heartache, and you hear these stories over and over of the incredible heartache that's promised to a child. Gary Smalley wrote this story, a true story, and I read it this week. It was heartbreaking, about a dad who promised to take his son camping for the weekend. He was so excited all day Friday. He gets home and his dad's late. He comes in late. He goes, oh, no, let's just go tomorrow instead. His son is so disappointed. Next morning he gets up and he waits and waits and waits and waits. And his dad comes out and says, oh, sorry, something came up with work and I got to go do that. The son was crushed. He goes back in his house and he looks out the window and sees dad putting his golf clubs in his car and taking off. The damage that was done to that little boy carried with him for a long time. And perhaps you've had that happen to you, and you can be the generation that changes that. And you be the dad or mom that maybe that wasn't there for you. But the dads and moms in the room, are you dependable? Sometimes there's interruptions. Sometimes things come along in life and you apologize, but then you come back and you be a man or woman of your word. What about wife, husband? Are you dependable? Do you keep your promises? Are your yes, yes, and your no's, no's, and they know where you're going to stand? What about a friend? Are you a friend that's solid and sure? If someone looks at you, they say they know they can always count upon you to be there and give it your best. Do you show up? Do you keep your promises? Are you a person that they can trust? Or do your friends trust you? Do you keep your promises when you say, I will or I will not, and they know it's true? For your spouse, your family, your friends, do they know that you're committed to them? It makes a world of difference. Also in commitment, we're forgiving. You learn how to forgive. Because we're all going to mess up. We're all going to do things that are imperfect and cause hurt and pain and disappointment. But when that hurt and that pain comes, do you give the grace of Jesus Christ and forgive others? Now you can say, he doesn't deserve it. Well, that's what grace is all about, because you don't deserve the grace of Jesus either. Colossians chapter 3, verse 13 says, bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you have a grievance against someone, you forgive. Read it with me. What does it say? Forgive as the Lord forgave you. So God forgives you. God gives you grace not because you deserve it, because he loves you, because he's going to say, I gave my whole life to you. Jesus committed his life. He gave his life. He forgives you even when we screw it up, when we mess it up, even when we're unfaithful to him, he still forgives us when we come back to him. In the same way, we need to forgive each other. So in this chart, when someone you relied upon messes up, you learn to forgive and you learn to rebuild that trust. Now, I'm not talking about a situation of downright abuse and heartache there that we have to learn on a different level for that. But going through life, are you one who forgives? Sometimes you're looking at your life and go, man, he is such a mess, she's such a mess, I don't know where it's going to be. And you look over there and go, wow, if I was with that person, or if I was in that situation, it would be so much better. I say the grass is not greener on the other side of the fence. The grass is greener where you water it. And you need to make sure you're investing and you're forgiving as God forgave you. Can I get an amen? That's hard to do, but it can be done. And when you learn to forgive as God forgave you, you grow up and you mature. And in a healthy, committed relationship, we learn more about God's grace. And then in commitment, we are faithful. We're faithful. You're going to keep those promises. We're imperfect, but people are going to be able to depend upon us because they know we are sure and we're solid. Now, there's many in this church who are committed to Jesus, and it's demonstrated. You're faithful in how you serve and how you give, and you're faithful in how you reach out. In the last 2 days, many of you came over and we served in East St. Louis in that Washington Park neighborhood, and the services we had, the worship together with the Christians there was sweet and fun. The projects you accomplished yesterday, you did so much good in the name of Jesus. That's a demonstration of your love for Jesus because you're reaching out and you're serving others. 1 John chapter 3, verse 16. Says, this is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. So when you're committed to someone, you're saying, I'm willing to give my life for you. That's a friend who says, I would die for you because I love you, I'm committed to you, I'll do everything I can for you. It's a husband saying, I would die for my wife, to care for her and provide for her. It's a wife saying, I would die for my husband. It's a family relationship, parents and kids saying, I would do everything. And we might be able to, on one hand, say, boy, I would die for you if I could. How about, along with it, would say, I would live for you. I mean, I'll spend my life living the best I can for you. It's the difference of someone on that first verse saying, I can do anything I want. Now you're saying, I'm not going to do anything I want. I'm going to do what I can for the good of you. I'm going to lift you up. I'm committed to you. I'm willing to die for you, but I'm also willing to live for you. That's how we live for Jesus, but that's how we live in a committed relationship with each other. Standing by it. If you have kids, you need to listen to Proverbs 20, verse 7. It says, the righteous walk in integrity, and happy are the children who follow them. Wouldn't you like to have that kind of a parent? The parents you can look upon and say it's going to be there. And some of us, maybe we haven't been the best of parents, and we need to renew that and say, God, you help me, you strengthen me, and you can be the kind of dad and mom that your kids are happy to follow you. And they want to be like you. And you demonstrate what being a husband and being a father, what being a wife, what being a mom, what being a worker, an employee or employer, what being a person of integrity is like, so they know this is what a faithful man or woman is. There's that old song, some of you may remember, it says, you've lost that love and feeling. Whoa, that love and feeling. And it's gone, 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 gone. You know, it's just a dumb song. But that love and feeling, you know the phrase, I fell in love. What happened? I don't know, I guess fell out of love. That is the most selfish, immature kind of love that there is. Now, sure, there's that love when you meet someone, you get excited and you think they're fun. You go, I like this person. I want to be around them. And that's fun, but that's not the kind of love that a relationship is built upon that's solid. That's an attraction. But you move to the point where now you're saying, I'm willing to commit to you. This falling in love and out of love has absolutely nothing to do in your relationship anymore. Now saying, I'm committed to you, I'm solid, and sure, you're going to fall out of love relationship, but that doesn't matter because you committed that you will love. And so you learn to love. You learn to build up on it. You learn to build that solid thing. I'm just going to stand with you no matter what. I read this. It says, I threw in the towel and God threw it right back and said, here, wipe your face. We're almost there. And sometimes you just want to throw it in. Sometimes you're just tired. You're just exhausted. You feel like you can't do anymore. You need to get off and you need to pray. Ask God for grace. Ask him for strength. And you get in there and you renew that commitment. Now, some in this room, I've been through that pain of this horrible breakup where someone is promised till death do us part and they walked out on you. And that's a horrible pain. It's a death. It's a separation of unfaithfulness. And that pain you carry with you, or maybe it's someone around you, maybe your parents. And that pain is so hard when that commitment has been ripped apart. And it makes you scared to commit to someone else again. And sure, we need to work it through. We need to process it through. But don't give up on what commitment can be and what you're capable of. And learn how to do it in God's way. Love is not just a bunch of emotions, not something you fall in and out of. It's an intentional decision that you're going to make. So Jean and I, we made a commitment 41 years ago. And I can say, she's not always the easiest person to live with. You know that? She would definitely say, I'm not. But it's a commitment. And sometimes there's a struggle. And they're just like, oh, this is hard. But it's like, we are going to make this work, so help me. And working. We're doing it so far. We got a ways to go. Hopefully there'll be a lot more years to go. But how do you make a commitment that stands sure and solid? Now I want to talk a little bit, just get personal with you about my dad. And this week my dad died. And I can say I had the best father of anybody. Not many of you say that, but my dad was better. You know, we could do. My dad, he's just a great guy. He's very simple. You've heard me say I grew up on a farm, and he's a small-time farmer. And so many things simple about his life. He's the most joyful person I know. Would always laugh at anything. Remember when our kids were there, and Joseph got a really bad fever, and Jean checked, was 104, and Dad just laughed. He goes, "Oh, he'll be okay. Aren't they funny when they have these high fevers?" And that was my dad. I broke a bone in my foot one day, and he goes, oh, it'll probably be all right. Wait till tomorrow, and if it's swollen up, then we'll take you to the doctor. That's my dad. He never worried about anything. But Dad was just there. But it began when he was a young guy. And I want to show you a couple pictures. This is my nostalgia. Here's my dad. This good-looking guy. He's this tall, strong man. And as a 19-year-old, he made a commitment. He made a commitment to my mom that they were going to be married. And they were married almost 73 years. So there's this young guy. He could do anything in his life, and he's committed. And he stuck by that commitment. And I can say their marriage wasn't perfect, but he stuck by his commitment. And the one thing that helped them in their marriage, when they got started, they were trying to figure out life, how it's going to be, and they decided they needed to get their life right with Christ. And they worked and figured out what it was. They finally found, they came from two different backgrounds completely. They found a church. They were committed to Jesus. They were baptized, and they were faithful no matter what. It didn't matter how sick we were in church. They were committed, and he lived by it. He kept a Sabbath day. He worked hard. But his commitment to Jesus never failed. I never, ever saw it fail. His commitment to my wife was strong, or to his wife was strong. And he was this dad. He was a dad that I knew was there. He taught me how to work. He taught me how to stay strong no matter what. And even when he got older, he still stayed strong. He never wavered. And I want to be that kind of a dad. And you need to be that kind of a parent that's there, that's always depend upon. But he stuck it out with Mom. And you know, they held hands when they were younger. Then they had all these kids. They had a whole bunch of kids around between them all. And they were, the last several years, they've been holding hands all the time. And I don't know if it's because they were in love or just because they were holding each other up, you know. But they were holding hands, and they stuck it out. And we had this wonderful relationship. And then Dad's health, you know, goes up and down when they're both in their 90s. And then this week, it all just turned very quick. And I got to see my mom stand or sit beside his bed, praying for him, loving on him, and that heartache that's there. But they demonstrated till death do us part. They were faithful to the end. And that's the kind of relationship I want for Jean and I. I want us to be these two little old people holding each other up. It's the kind of relationship I desire for you. Whether it's through a great, strong friendship or through a spouse that says, we are going to stick through life always. We're not giving up. And again, some of you have been ripped apart because the other person didn't keep their part of the commitment. It takes two to make this relationship work. Something that we do when I marry young couples, and I've married hundreds over the years. I love doing weddings, but when they come together, before then we talk about what the marriage vows are. And sometimes they write their own vows, and they're really good. But I just say, when you write your own vows, you make a commitment. Don't do, I love you like the stars in the sky and sweet things. There's no commitment in that. But say a commitment that's going to be strong. And I want to just go through the traditional vows with you. And this is for married couples. It's for singles who are thinking about getting married. But I want you to think about this just as a commitment in life. So this is a commitment. If you're just committing to a friend, this is what a commitment looks like. It starts with this. It's a decision. I will take you to be my wife or to be my husband, to have and to hold from this day forward. So it's a decision. It's no longer, oh, I feel good, I feel excited, but saying, I will do this. I'm committing to you. And it says to have and to hold. That to have and to hold says not only just going to have you as my wife or husband, but I'm going to hold you. And I take that hold very literally. You're going to hang on to each other emotionally. You're going to hold each other physically. There's going to be that touch, the rest of your relationship together. We're going to hold each other. In the next one, for better, for worse. Now, when you're ideally starting out, you just go for better, for worse. You kind of laugh it off. You've been married for 10 years or 30 years or 50 years. You know that for worse gets really big sometimes. But this is a commitment. No matter what comes in life, no matter what comes, strongs, health-wise, job-wise, career-wise, emotionally, struggles, for better, for worse, we're committed. That's a strong commitment. And then the next one comes up. It says, for richer or for poor, still the number one stress in marriages is money. And by the way, we're going to offer Financial Peace University again at the first of the year. You got to take that if you haven't yet. But figure out how money should not drive a wedge in your marriage. You buy this huge fancy TV wall, surround everything else, and it makes you mad, angry at each other for a long time because you can't afford it. Just buck up and return it, or learn from your mistake. Don't let money drive a wedge in a relationship. For better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health. Now, Gene says this describes the aging process. It's not just cleaning up each other's puke, and that's part of it too, but it's saying we're not always going to be young and healthy and athletic, but we're going to be with each other for here and for out. It's a commitment that says whatever the stages of life, and I think that stretches beyond just a physical health, but sometimes we go through some emotional stuff. We get depressed, we get discouraged, we get anxious, we get worried. But a commitment says sickness and health, no matter what, I'm your friend. No matter what, we're staying together. And the next one says to love and to cherish. This is one I think a lot of people miss out on. You see, we said relationship changes when we make a commitment, because now you're saying, I commit to love you. It's not if I love you, I will love you. It's picking up 1 Corinthians 13. It says, a love is going to be patient and kind. And I don't feel like being patient, but I will, because Jesus said, I don't feel like being kind, but I will. There's no room for any selfishness. There keeps no record of wrongs. That means you can't throw up, well, yeah, yesterday you did, because it's forgiving. So we learn how to love. So I may not like Gene at the moment, but I said, I will love you. So, okay, I'm going to love you. I'm going to figure this out. We learn to love. And to cherish is one thing we forget. That idea when you first meet someone, you can't wait to see them, you want to be around them, and you're excited, and you think of all the things, what can I do to be nice? You give the flower, you give the card, you give the extra special note because you cherish that person. And too many married people act like roommates or brother and sister, and they fight all the time, and they act like someone who cherishes each other. Cherish is the romance that says, I promise I will romance you for the rest of my life. I'm going to hold you as special, and it means I have to figure it out. Well, how do I do it at this stage? How do we make those things? And you sit back and you stop and you think, how do you send the extra note? Instead of just saying, don't forget to pick up the kids, how about sending a note during the day? Hey, I'm thinking about you. I hope you're having a good day. You can't afford a dozen roses anymore, but you can give one, How about just that simple note, instead of the task list of saying, I want to hold you as cherished. And this is something you can renew over and over and over, and you can keep your marriage special. So to love and to cherish in the last until we're separated by death. As God is my witness, I give you my promise. Now that's a vow, a promise that you can go to the bank on. That's solid. But most people fail. They may just do this. Okay, we're just going to stick this out, grin and bear it. But can you work through these? Learn how to adjust through the phases of life. and learn how to say, I'm going to love you. And our cherish isn't good right now, but we're going to learn how to date. We're going to learn how to hold each other special. Look past all those issues we've had in our life and learn to kiss and date and show affection and show that touch that keeps your relationship strong, and it can happen the rest of your life. Always. I'm going to do something. I don't want to embarrass you. I don't want to make it awkward. But if you're sitting next to your spouse, would you just grab their hand, whether you're at home or you're in the Mission Cafe or in here? Maybe you got some kids between you, so reach over and grab them. Kids, you just get out of the way right now. This is between husbands and wives, right? So reach over and grab their hand. All right, that's it. Come on, reach all the way over there. Grab their hand. And husbands, let's go first. Now, again, you may say, we just had an argument on the way to church, Doyle. This is really not cool. That's all right, because you're going to forgive them eventually anyway. So how about right now? Let's just do that. And so saying, something about after we've been married for a while, Gene and I, we did a vow renewal for a wonderful couple at the church a few weeks ago. All of a sudden, these take on a newer meaning, because it's not just this sweet little thing you say just to get married, but now saying, okay, let's figure this out. So when I ask you to do this with me now, I'm asking you to say, okay, we're going to make this work. So got their hand? Okay, husbands, say it first. Ready? And you put their own name in there. Don't put my name, okay? Okay. I take you, Jean, to be my wife. Come on, guys. I need to hear you, all right? I take you to be my wife, to have and to hold from this day forward. Let me hear you. For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish until we're separated by death. As God is my witness, I give you my promise. And I give you my promise, Jean. Okay, wives, your turn. Here we go. I take you to be my husband, to have and to hold from this day forward. Ladies, let me hear you. For better, for worse. How about an amen? Now, if you, yeah. Now, figure that out. And again, friends. Now, you're not going to do all this stuff, maybe, but can you realize a strong friendship says, hey, we're going to stick through life together? How about dads and moms to kids saying, hey, for better or for worse, for richer or for poor, you make this huge mistake, we're just going to walk through this. I'm committed. How about kids to your parents? When they embarrass you, when they do those things wrong, when they let you down, how about you forgive them a little bit and you get back in there and keep this commitment going? Because again, it's not based upon a feeling. It's saying we're going to do this. We're not going to quit. Psalms 145, verse 13 says, the Lord is trustworthy in all he promises, and he's faithful in all he does. So God's faithful to you. God's promises are sure. He's promised forgiveness and grace, and you don't have to worry about that. We're concerned about tomorrow and what's going to happen, and I'm concerned about November. I'm concerned about so many things going on, but I know God is the king, and he's on the throne, and he's over it all. It doesn't matter what happens. He is faithful. All those promises he gives to us in the Bible, he is going to follow every one of those. Are we going to demonstrate first a commitment to Jesus? And then can we have a commitment to others that demonstrates God's grace and God's love? Jesus said, by this will all men know that you're my disciples if you love one another. So you're going to commit to people. So when they look at your marriage, they say, it's obvious that guy loves Jesus because look how he loves his wife. It's obvious she loves Jesus because look how she looks at him. They're not just these fighting, bickering people, bitter, but they demonstrate God's love in their marriage. And demonstrate God's love with your family and your kids. And I know, I've been around my family this week. There's some tough times being around family, right? But you learn to love and you learn to demonstrate God's grace. God, thank you for loving us the way you do. Thank you that you are faithful, that you're dependable, that you're forgiving, and that you're faithful. Father, I pray for each person online, each person listening, that we would first understand and think about our commitment to you. Father, help us to surrender our pride so it's not just anything I want, but deciding we will do whatever you've called us to do. And Father, I pray that you would help us take a look at commitments we've made in the past and forgive us when we failed. Father, for some in the room, I pray that you give them the courage to rebuild that commitment. For some, I pray that they would have the courage to step up and make the commitment they should. And Father, help us to be the kind of spouse, a parent, a child, a friend, an employee that demonstrates commitment and faithfulness, and by that, we demonstrate your love to those around us. So would you bring conviction, and God, would you also create desire that we could live in you and with those around us as you've called us to. In Jesus I pray. Amen. So we've got time in the service. We're going to sing a couple songs. One is just demonstrating, talking about God's love through no matter what there is. We're facing some hard times, and maybe your relationship right now, there's some struggle. You're just going, God, I just don't know how this is going to work out. But God's faithful. And God can work through all kinds of obstacles. In fact, sometimes when the obstacles are the biggest, the darkest, the hardest, when we humble ourselves before him, we can see God work in incredible ways. And you know, God's the one doing this. Not me or the other person, but God is. So I'm asking you, don't give up hope. You be a person that's dependable. You be a person that can forgive. You be a person that's faithful and say, God, would you come in here and would you make the difference? Because I need you right now. There's some things we can pray with you about. We'd like to do that. If you're online, you can go down and click in just that spot where it says, I need prayer. When you go to that place, you'll go to a private spot and someone will pray with you. If you're in the room, we invite you to go over to the side over here. And there'll be someone that goes in the back room with you. If you're in the Mission Cafe, Roger and the team is in there. You go to them and they will pray with you there as well. It's a time when we can surrender to God. It's also a time you come up front, kneel and pray. Husbands and wives, maybe we need to get our knees together. We just need to say, God, would you help us? Friends, let's be the committed person that God's called us to. Would you stand with me? And let's respond to him together.